Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here. Today we're talking about the Red Dead Redemption upgrade because currently if you have it on PlayStation 4 or the original Nintendo Switch, it has now got a giant free patch that makes it much more beautiful, much more playable on the Nintendo Switch 2 and also the PlayStation 5. And I've been playing it, and I have to admit that this is one of those upgrades that before I had a chance to play it, I thought was kind of useless. Just the idea of taking a game that was already so beautiful and making it have an enhanced quality image, I felt like Rockstar did not explain how big of an upgrade this is. The fact that it is free, I'm kind of impressed. But let's talk about this update and why, as a fan of Red Dead 1, why I like Red Dead 1 more than Red Dead 2, because I'm a crazy person, why this upgrade is great, but it doesn't fix my two biggest gripes with the remaster. Let's talk. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, this video is going to be divided in half. We're going to talk about the PlayStation 5 version first, and then the Nintendo Switch 2 version. And I'll put like a title card so you can tell one game from the other. But let's start by talking about the PlayStation 5 version because it is definitely the bigger of the two upgrades, obviously. Now, what makes it so crazy is that they originally just said some vague stuff. Oh, the frame rate will be even more rock solid. They'll have HDR support, so the colors and depths of the blacks and stuff look even better. But even though this is 4K, the main thing that I instantly noticed is that this is running essentially the PC version of Red Dead Redemption 1. They're now running it essentially at the PC Ultra settings. Now, what made that feel so much different and look so much different is that this doesn't really upgrade individual textures. So if you saw a person in the town and they had like a weird clump of hair, or you saw a blurry door, that stuff still looks the same. Instead, this increases the level of detail distance, which means that if you see stuff off in the distance, typically everything took a while to load in. You'd actually have to get really, really close to see like individual bits of grass pop up, or if you're walking along the train tracks, it'd take a while to actually see like different trellises appearing. It wasn't just typical pop-in, it's that it felt like the game was constantly trying to make sure it could be overly optimized for how strong the PlayStation 4 was. The PS5 version, though, it runs at the full detail of that, which to me is fantastic. You know, part of the reason I like Red Dead Redemption 1 more than Red Dead Redemption 2 is sometimes just, I like kind of that barren isolation at times of John Marsden riding through the West, watching the sunset, seeing everything around you, just trying to hunt some grub and stuff. I just think that Red Dead Redemption 1, I like the main character more, and the story is still tighter in my opinion, but just seeing it be even more beautiful while you're roaming from town to town, it really, really adds to the experience. Playing this in 4K, 60 FPS, it is absolutely gorgeous. Now, let's talk about my two problems with this, right? The first one is, this does still have too much pop-in for my tastes in particular. Now, the Switch 2 version has this as well, which is why I don't like it for either. But when you're looking especially at like mountains, at natural environments, for whatever reason, the game pops that stuff in these big, very annoying clumps. I guess it's just the fact that this is technically built on the code of an Xbox 360 and a PlayStation 3 game, but whatever core part of the code decides to pop stuff in, they haven't fixed that. I wish that they had some way to do this more seamlessly, but the pop-in, even though it is further out, it still kind of looks like crap, if I'm being honest. But the other part of this is that I have to admit that I am still annoyed that this doesn't have Red Dead Online. I guess we're never going to get that. The Red Dead Redemption Remaster, at least now, runs at 60 FPS. The original version only ran at 30 FPS. I'm glad it runs at 60 FPS. I do wish it had the original version of Red Dead Online to some degree, but I'm happy with that, right? Let's talk about that Switch 2 version now. Now, I do want to quickly say, this does have save files that carry over. If you've been playing it on the original Nintendo Switch, which didn't look super terrible, but it definitely had problems. We're going to talk about that more in a second. Or you've been playing it on PlayStation 4, you can carry this over. If you're playing it and you're a trophy hunter, this has the full trophies of the PlayStation 4 version, essentially just mirrored. So if you popped a bunch of trophies on PS4 and then update it, now you get them all again. So if you got that very easy platinum, you can now double platinum it very, very simply. But let's talk about that Nintendo Switch version, because This is a much, much bigger upgrade because the Switch 1 version, as much as I've played it, as much as I've enjoyed it, it's a much bigger leap graphically. The original version on Nintendo Switch 1 actually technically ran at a very strangely low resolution. So when you're playing it handheld, it was 720p, and even when you played it docked, it was sort of like an upscaled, a non-perfect render of 1080p of that 720p footage. It still looked decent. I'm not going to pretend it looked bad, but the Nintendo Switch 1 version definitely left a lot to be desired. It almost looked downright janky at some of the edges especially, and it was hard locked at 30 FPS. The Switch 2 version is fully hard locked at 60 FPS, and it's now actually 1080p. It actually looks a little bit above 1080p to my eyes, but honestly, it looks really good even in handheld, which is actually the main way I like to play this is handheld. I mean, maybe it's just because I put so many hours into it on my PlayStation. I didn't really want to like sit there and play it again. I figured I'd play that as a handheld experience, but I also did some very, very strange stuff. So this also has the HDR that the PlayStation version has, so it does look very, very good, especially on that screen, but it's kind of strange because we don't have an OLED Nintendo Switch 2, and OLED screens do much better with HDR, so you really only see the HDR in docked mode. This does have DLSS, which basically means that it upscales and looks extra, extra crisp, even if technically it's one of those like sort of fake frame rates. This does have mouse controls. Whenever you're playing it, you can just pop off one of these controllers. You can see I'm playing Red Dead Redemption, and by dragging it like a mouse, you can actually have this little mouse appears, which means you can do that for aiming. You can do it in some of the card games and stuff. It is very, very strange. I don't really like the mouse support, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people kind of say that if you get good at it, it actually feels better than even using like your typical twin stick gaming, right? So I think it's interesting that Rockstar decided to do the work to even put in that mouse support. I mean, Red Dead Redemption already practically has auto aim. Whenever you target somebody and untarget them, it basically like clicks onto them anyways. You don't really need to do any like fine tuning sniping. So again, it's one of those features I don't really get. I gotta say that right now, the upgrade on the Switch 2 version, it looks like it's up to almost maybe above the quality of the original PlayStation 4 remaster, which to me already looked pretty dang good. This is pretty cool. The fact that it is free, the fact that it's right now, not only is the upgrade free, the game itself is free on PlayStation, it's discounted. I think right now this is like $35 or $40 on Amazon for a physical copy. You can pop it in and it instantly plays. I've heard it's like 30 or 40% off on the Xbox right now. I don't know. This seems to me, hopefully, to be kind of laying the groundwork for a Red Dead Redemption 2 remaster, which I would happily pay for. At this point, I just want Red Dead Redemption 2, which is still at 30 FPS. I want that at 60 FPS so bad I can taste it. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts about this, rather random upgrade. How do you feel about Red Dead Redemption? And how do you feel about Red Dead Redemption 1 versus Red Dead Redemption 2? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Now, if you excuse me, I got to get back to the wild, wild west. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.